Do we have too much government?
We need to put people ahead of corporate profits.
This system is so lopsided. This threat is a real threat to democracy.
And I think that's really important. That's something we haven't been doing in this country for a long time.
Where do you start? What do you do? How do you do it?
Access to Democracy is sponsored by Thomson Reuters, providing legal professionals with the intelligence, technology, and human expertise they need to find trusted answers. Products include Westlaw, Practical Law, and Firm Central legal practice management software for small law firms. Thomson Reuters, the answer company. Online at thomsonreuters.com. Access to Democracy is made possible in part by a donation from Firefly Credit Union. Firefly is the new name of U.S. Federal Credit Union, which has proudly served the financial needs of the Greater Twin Cities community since 1925. At Firefly, we guide our members forward and give them the power to chase dreams by delivering the financial solutions they need to get ahead. From checking accounts to mortgages, we'll light the way. We are Firefly Credit Union, and this is Life Illuminated. And Dr. Charles Crutchfield of award-winning Crutchfield Dermatology in Eagan, acknowledged as one of the nation's best physicians. A Minnesota native who trained at the Mayo Clinic, Dr. Crutchfield personally treats all patients and states that experience counts and quality matters. Crutchfield Dermatology. Look good, feel great, with beautiful skin.
Got the camera on me? Okay.
Welcome. Access to Democracy returns. The Pat Anderson Show. Alan Miller here with you, and always a pleasure. One of our favorite guests, and somebody who rarely agrees with me politically, and we have a good time.
We do.
Pat Anderson, who used to be our mayor in Eagan. She has been the state auditor. She has been a member of the Republican National Committee. She is a businesswoman and successful entrepreneur, and she cooks also.
I do.
We know that. Always a pleasure.
It's great to be back.
And you've been world traveling?
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of traveling. But then I get back home and I have to work, 16-hour days to get caught up, and then I go somewhere else, and I'm kind of sick of it, frankly. So
Well, there's just so
it's time
much
to
you
just
can
stay
do.
right here. And spring is here.
Almost.
I think it's early.
Yeah.
I heard the birds this morning.
Well,
It's
we had a pretty good break on the winter, so.
we did. Yeah, it was good.
And we were in Mexico during the really cold.
Oh, that was
couple
good
of
timing.
weeks. So yeah.
Yep.
That
No, I
was-
had to come back for caucuses, so I'm, just as you
As-
too, Alan. You and
as
I
did
both
we
would
all.
not miss those.
No, we can't.
Yeah, an exciting year this year because there's a huge turnout on both sides.
Well, in my first election, I actually voted for Abraham Lincoln, and
We were
haven't-
talking about we're getting older, aren't we?
haven't
Yeah.
missed one since. So. But yeah, it's always great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks.
Now, as a Republican and as a sane person, please tell me what is going on with the Republican Party right now.
I think it's the same phenomenon or similar to what's going on with the Democrat Party with the Sanders candidacy. You have, I think Trump is going to be the nominee. I think that was obvious even before Super Tuesday.
A pretty scary prospect in my
Well,
mind.
I think Trump is a reflection of, he is a populist moderate, frankly, if you really look at his politics. I think the Bernie Sanders is also very populist. He's a populist socialist, but he certainly is a populist. And I think there's this disgust, especially from the middle class, that is just really angry with, they call it the establishment, but I would argue it's really more Washington, the political class, the 1%,
Do,
the Wall
do
Street.
nothing. Yeah, the
Yeah,
1%. Well, you were
absolutely.
now a 1%er. So
Absolutely. Well, you know, and I think but I think that there's a perception that's real. I
But
think
you-
in DC that you have this group that has controlled things on both the Democrat and the Republican side that is in cahoots with some of the large companies, lobbyists.
And the fact of the matter is, they're in cahoots with each other
Absolutely,
to a large
they are.
degree.
Absolutely, and so you've had a lot of anger from the public, and now I think you have this because you have, I would say, effective spokespeople in Sanders and in Trump, who are just saying, you know, they're F you, you know, essentially to that political class, and that I think that's what's driving people. I don't think it's ideological.
No, there are a couple of Republicans who appear to me to be reasonable people, not immature on the Trump level, not dragging politics down into the gutter the way he does.
Well, I think there's one left on the Republican side.
And that's
you
John
know.
Kasich.
And I would say it's Kasich, and certainly Ben Carson would have fallen into that, you know, that category too.
If
And,
he could stay awake
you know,
long enough.
well, he's a good man. He just is not. This wasn't his game, I think.
I'm just not ready
Well.
for.
But I think you know, other than that, it has been very. It isn't just Trump. It's you know, Rubio, Cruz, and Trump are all acting that way.
Immature reminds me of third grade with the name calling and everything else.
Absolutely,
And,
I would not disagree. And in all my years and yours, I'm certain in politics, I've never seen debates that have gotten to this level. It's
disappointing.
It's
it really
very
is.
disappointing. It's
Let's talk about issues. I mean,
Yeah.
Bernie and Hillary have talked at least about issues.
Mm-hmm.
It hasn't really gotten down into the gutter there, and I hope that they maintain that. You know, I make no apologies for supporting Bernie. He stood for the same thing for 40 years now. And
yeah, yes, yeah.
he really has.
Oh, yeah.
He's not really a socialist per se
Oh,
anymore.
he says he's a socialist, Alan.
Yeah,
he says that. So
But
he is.
I want
you know,
to
and
give
if
you
you
this,
look at his
this
policies,
opportunity to support Bernie. There's your
feel the burn.
Feel the burn
Feel the
button.
burn. I'll keep this
And-
in my button collection of long done politicians. How's that?
well, we hope he's not long done, but
Well, I think
one never knows.
I think he is beginning. You know, it's a movement there, but it's the same populist message that you see from Trump. You know, they both talk about Wall Street, and they talk about lobbyists, and they talk about big money in politics, and both of their sets of supporters support them partially for a big reason, because they're outside of the establishment, they're outside of that,
And
they're
they're- and
protesting
they're
what's been
suffering
going
here,
on for
you know?
decades.
where wages have been stagnant for a decade now. And we can put the blame every place on that.
And I think Trump is arguing that too. And I'm
Yeah.
not here to defend Trump, but I see it exactly the same. That it's the same general phenomenon. Because he argues it, but then he talks about trade.
I mean,
you know, the trade wars.
We talk about health care. I believe everybody should have health care. I think that that's something that a country should provide,
Were
especially.
you at a healthcare rally when you got this?
I was.
Yeah, it says.
I was with the nurses.
Feel the burn for healthcare.
With the nurses and who are supporting him.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with education. I mean, as I mentioned recently, my daughter was paying off her school loans well into her 40s. And, you know, I think we should provide the student that wants an education, that education. You are much more libertarian than, in fact, you may, you know, than you are Republican, I think, at the moment. And
Probably, yeah.
yeah,
Probably.
certainly not a warmonger.
No.
And those wars have really, if we had the money that we put into these wars since
$1 trillion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
3
Yeah,
trillion,
yeah,
I
it's
think.
amazing. It's amazing, and it's gotten us nowhere. And you know, I am a very anti, ISIS. I mean, I do think that we need to absolutely stop that, and we can get into that. But I also think that it
There is
doesn't do us
certain-
any good to go in, invade countries, and then spend $1 trillion trying to rebuild
Well,
the place, and then somebody
if we
takes it over. and
invade a
it's
country and
ludicrous.
take it over, as what's his name, our former.
Bush.
Well, no. If you break it, you own it. That was his Secretary of State who said that.
Yeah, I don't remember that. Yeah.
But you can't just go in, invade a country, throw out the government, and then leave.
Right.
Because
Right.
they're going to just
Right. At least
degenerate.
Saddam kept the crazies in line.
That's right.
And that, frankly, is something that Trump is arguing. And I'm sure maybe Sanders is arguing the same thing. But you can't do that. And we did that in Libya too. We've left a power vacuum that's taken
Absolutely.
over by the crazies, and it's much worse.
But
because
this
of that.
country has a history of doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't
Right.
do it that way. You've either got to go all in or deal with whoever is running the
Right.
country. First place, I don't
We
think.
have since World War II only, I would
Yeah.
argue, because
Yes.
before that we were very much more isolationist when we were more libertarian.
And,
But we were isolationist.
I'm getting worried because we're agreeing much too much here. And
Well, sometimes the left and the right can join. So since you're on
That's,
the far left, and I sometimes am on the far right.
but the
sometimes
fact
we
of the matter
agree.
is, you're right. There is sanity to be had someplace. I don't
Yeah.
think it's our job to go in and change governments any place.
Right, I would agree.
Really, that's for starters.
Yeah.
If they can't do it within their own country, then whatever is.
Yep.
But,
Yep. Just let them be.
and,
Yep. And Afghanistan was a little, it was a little different because we were going after people who had attacked our country essentially. But, that was also a
15 of 18
creation.
who came from Saudi Arabia,
Right,
who
right.
have spent billions of dollars on.
Right. Yep. And that power vacuum was created because of the Saddam.
Where you
Yeah.
couldn't leave your house without a male to chaperone you.
In a big black burqa.
Where you couldn't drive a car because you're female.
It's been interesting. I think I've told you I have all these. My children are all millennial age. They're generally in college, and they didn't.
Well,
excuse
good.
me.
Maybe we have some Bernie support there.
I think one of them is gonna. I have one that's in pharmacy school in Missouri right now, and they vote on the 15th. And she said she's gonna vote for Bernie, but was a Ron Paul person before that, so she's kind of libertarian. She just can't. I can tell you, all my kids, not one of them likes Hillary Clinton, and that's going to be very interesting when you have a head-to-head of Trump and Clinton.
Well, there's a lot of people
because
who
that
don't
under-
like Hillary Clinton.
Oh.
And I wrote an article not too long ago, and one of the things I said in there is that the Clintons come with a lot of baggage.
Oh yeah,
Now, I know
yeah.
that when this airs, I'm going to get phone calls from the Democrats because of that. But the fact of the matter is, it's true, and it's a perception, not only of mine, but across the country.
Yeah.
So that's something you have to consider.
Yeah.
I'm afraid that people will not come out and vote on both sides because there are many people who will just not abide Trump, and there are many people who I think are going to not vote for Hillary. And
But you're going to have a different group coming out. Let's go back to the why are Sanders? I mean, yes, Sanders is going to lose to Clinton, but he's done incredibly well as a socialist, right?
I won't concede that
Senator
he's
from a
gonna
little
lose,
tiny
but-
state of Vermont. He has done incredibly well against Clinton, who was absolutely anointed years ago. It's amazing that with an open seat, that there aren't a million Democrats that got in this election. She was anointed, and the only one with the
Thank
guts to
you.
run against her was
Thank
Sanders.
you, Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the Democratic
That
National Committee.
Huge mistake, I
They
think,
just
on behalf of
sent
the
me a
Democrats.
solicitation for money, and I wrote on it, not as long as that woman is the head of the DNC.
Yeah.
Because I blame her a lot for what is going to happen
Yeah.
in this election.
Well, and you have that's the same thing that's going on, like with Romney, with Romney cutting on that the establishment, the people that control the Democrat Party and the Republican Party, they want to handpick their candidates. And they want everybody to fall in the line.
They want to
And
perpetuate the system.
Right, perpetuate the system that they benefit from, but the average Joe on the street absolutely doesn't benefit from. And people know that. They absolutely know it. They're getting, they're getting
But they
screwed.
don't give people the credit for having the brains
But
to know
it's
that.
absolutely going on now, and they do not know what to do about it. But the Democrats, they just let it go. With Clinton, they kept everybody else out of the race, and I think she's a horribly flawed candidate. Horribly, I believe she'll be indicted probably, and if she's not, there's people are going to be in an uproar that she's not.
She's
that she
not
could get
going to
away
be
with this.
indicted because
We'll see, Alan.
it didn't rise to a criminal level. Well, if she is, Bernie's home free.
Bernie's home free, right? And so you have this group within the Democrat Party who's angry that you had the anointed one way out there, who is very much part of the establishment, very much part of Wall Street. She's very in cahoots with the left. She's got her own family foundation that they've been, she's been getting corporate money in there before she deals. I mean, it is bad stuff, and people know it.
And
then you have that.
And how about what Bernie has raised with these small donations?
Tons of money.
Is this unbelievable?
Yeah.
He's got more
Yeah.
money other than Trump, who may or may not have money. We don't
Yeah.
know, but he's got more money in the campaign than any of the other candidates.
Yeah. So here's the question: what happens, Alan, then when Clinton cinches a nomination, which she will because of the superdelegates for sure, but she will get the nomination. So what happens to the Bernie Sanders supporters?
That's the question.
They're going to be really angry, especially if it gets closer and it's the superdelegates that
But
push
they're
this
not going to
thing.
let Trump become president.
I think Trump's going to take a lot of. I think.
You do?
Yes, I absolutely
Well,
do,
that'll be it.
because the message is very similar. Trump is a populist moderate, and I talk to people who are Sanders supporters. Not you. I mean, you'll probably vote for Hillary, but a lot of them would go to Trump as a second choice, and we've seen that in the polls.
See, I think that
And that's a weird thing for
I
the
think that
Republican
Trump
Party,
is a
too.
psychotic egomaniac.
I know,
but
I know, yeah. And
but,
I'm not, I didn't vote for Trump in the caucus, but I think he'll be our nominee, and I think that that he's going to do very, very well against Clinton.
Well,
Yeah,
it's going to
very
be
well.
interesting. We're going to have
Yeah.
to talk about this down the line a
Yeah,
little bit.
we'll see.
And,
Here's my
we will
prediction.
see.
We'll see what happens.
Unfortunately, your predictions have been uncannily correct
Well.
over the past few years.
Yeah.
So here we are in Minnesota.
Yep.
Now, are we going to retain the status quo in the House and the Senate here in Minnesota?
I think so. Yeah, and you've got some big races. CD2 is a big race, obviously.
John Klein, who
An open seat.
was 36 times a guest on this show,
Yep.
is stepping down. What's going to happen there?
Well, I think, it depends on the candidates, but I think there's a good chance that the Republicans will retain the seat. It's a Republican seat, just like, we...
Don't tell that to Bill Luther.
Yeah, well, he was more in the north, it was when it moved down here, so that it changed the lines. But just like, excuse me, cold, we Republicans thought that, maybe we could pick up the 8th, right, with Stuart Mills, and he's running again. But the fact is that it's, that was kind of a fluke, the first time, and it really is a Democrat seat.
And he
so.
really has trouble right now with his people
Yeah.
want to favor the TPP, and
Yeah.
the district wants to go with where Nolan is going.
Right.
Opposing it.
Yeah.
which I individually oppose also, and
Yeah.
actually Hillary did until Bernie came out so vocally in opposing it,
Yeah.
and now she has moved to that side.
Well, she's moved very far to the left in an attempt to stop Sanders. I mean, that's what she did, and I think
When
it's
I
going to
heard her-
really hurt her in the
When I heard her
general election.
last week giving, after Super Tuesday, giving her speech, I thought it was Bernie. I had to look up.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, she's, yeah. And that's, the Democrats don't have the bickering going on, but that's because, frankly, Sanders isn't doing it. I mean, a lot of the bickering is coming out of the people trying to stop Trump at this point. And Bernie's been very, very,
Trump is a
nice.
catastrophe all by himself. I mean, you just wind him up, and you're going to get
Yeah, you're going to get some
Really
some
frightening,
healthy.
yeah.
Yeah. Part of that's why he plays, though.
Now, in the second district here, what do you see? You see,
I don't have a good feel for who's going to get the nomination on the Republican side. I don't really know at all on the Democrat side what's going to happen there.
well, we're now down to one candidate
Oh, you are? Okay. See,
Andrew
I don't
Craig.
know. I don't know. Yeah.
who moved here a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And who has a lot of support, I think, from Washington.
Yeah.
Angie, who has been invited on this show a half a dozen times, but her handlers have not favored us with that. So anytime you
Well.
get a candidate that you want to come on and talk Congress,
I will on our side. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Well, that's, I think, a mistake, because I think this is a
Even
great show. And
even
and
individuals
you would go
face to
much
face.
easier on her than you'd go on the Republicans.
no, I wouldn't. I want to know what she stands for, and I think that's why they don't want her on for a half an hour.
Yeah.
Because she's very articulate. She's a terrific speaker. In a debate, she could probably bury anybody. I'm very impressed with that side of her. But as she said to me recently, a couple weeks ago, she said, "Are you angry with me?" And I said, "No, I'm disappointed."
Yeah. Yeah.
Because your people just ignore invitations,
Yeah.
don't even have the courtesy to say no.
Mm-hmm.
So I take that very personally.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and
I don't know. I don't have a feel for our side. I don't know who is elected out of caucuses. I'm not in the second district anymore either. I'm in the fourth.
but you're going to come back.
I might. Yeah, maybe. So I'd love to. We're getting close. We're empty nesters now. So that was the deal. We had to, till the kids got out of school.
That's
so.
too big a house to be an empty nester in.
Well, I have one back, so he's in the basement. He's in the basement.
That's not nice.
He said, "Why?" Well, it's a walkout basement, right? So he's happy. He's very happy. So he's doing well.
What do you think of the approach of the Republicans since Scalia died? I mean, I think it's a big mistake not to vet and hold hearings for a nominee. And in the long run, should the Democrats win, and should it be Hillary, they are going to get a much more left
Absolutely.
justice
Absolutely.
than anything
Absolutely.
Obama would put up,
Absolutely.
because he's pretty much a centrist.
Obama's not a centrist,
He's
but
a centrist.
he is more to the middle than certainly your candidate, Bernie. So, or the way Hillary's talking right now. It's a gamble, obviously, and part of this is it's playing into the presidential. This is more Cruz than anyone.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz talks about that nonstop as a justification for his candidacy, and so I think it's going to be very hard until we have a nominee, at least. Assuming it's not Cruz, and I would put a lot of money on it's going to be
Isn't it
Trump.
incredible that there hasn't been anybody of his compatriots who will support him?
It's not surprising, and part of it is I'm not a Cruz fan either, but he will not play along with what's happening in Washington. He'll go after, and he has not made hardly any friends there. But I think there's also a perception by some of those in Washington that he's out for himself. So
Gee,
there's
I don't know how they could get that feeling.
Yeah, but I think that's what's going on there. Rubio has been my biggest surprise when he went on the attack at this last debate and the one before, because I know Rubio, and he is actually a really nice guy, and that's not in his nature to play the attack dog the way he is.
They really set him up for that,
I think they
Yeah.
did. I think they said, you're in third, and if you want to get anywhere, you got to do this, and you have to, and he's not normally comfortable doing that.
And
But I think that's a mistake.
clearly he wasn't comfortable doing it. I think he's a
Right.
bright guy.
He is a
and I
bright
think he
guy.
probably has a future.
Yeah.
There is a movement that started today to draft Paul Ryan as the candidate. It was just on the wire as I was coming over
You know
here.
what? All that talk about, will Romney run, draft Paul Ryan, do that's all just, none of that's going to happen. None of it. And they would never be able to win the delegates. You're never going to get Rubio and Cruz out of this race. They'd have to get out in order to do it. It's all just to put more pressure on making Trump look bad.
A brokered convention is not
that's not going to happen
inconceivable.
either. It's not going to happen. First
You
of all,
think he's going to get enough votes to walk in with the nomination?
I do, and even if he didn't, under the current RNC rules of what they did this to stop Ron Paul 4 years ago, and it angered everybody to no end that was on the Ron Paul side or even not on the Ron Paul, but you have to have a majority of delegates from 8 states, even to have your name placed in the nomination. Not win, you have to have a majority, which means really winner take all states, the way these are going. The only one that's going to have that is Trump, so you can't even have your name put in a nomination unless they change the rules.
Well, it's going to be a scary election if that's the case.
Yeah, it's all just, people trying to dream up ways to stop Trump, and it's not going to happen. No.
So when is Pat Anderson going to run for office again?
I'm not anytime soon. I'm too busy with other
You're
things.
too busy making money. You're an entrepreneur. You've got businesses now.
Yeah, and I'm trying to enjoy my life.
Enjoy your
Travel when I can, and
which
know,
it seems to be
finish-
very frequently.
well, try to get my kids, the last of them, through college. And, that's been.
They're on their way.
They are, yeah, they're doing good.
Tell your daughter down in Missouri, is it?
Yeah, she's in pharmacy
Tell her.
school. My oldest daughter.
Feel the burn. And
She is, and you know why? I don't know if she's really a Sanders person per se, but she cannot stand Hillary Clinton. She doesn't like Donald Trump, and and I don't think she knows much about the others. And she's, and
Good
she's
for her.
gonna go caucus for Sanders, and she's conservative. She's more libertarian. She still tell you she's libertarian. So it's really been interesting. Now my son, the one in the basement, voted for Rubio at caucuses. He won, and he was an Obama guy last time. But he does not like, Clinton. I don't know anyone under 30 who likes Hillary Clinton.
I don't know.
And I know a lot of people under 30.
We have to pursue this further. We have 40 seconds left.
All right. It's always too
But,
quick, Alan.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'll
Well,
be interesting.
we could do a marathon sometime.
Well, let's do that, and let's come back after the nominations happen.
Absolutely.
Let's see what happens. So.
Pat Anderson, always a pleasure. I'm worried that I agree with you too much now. What does this say about me?
Maybe you're getting older, Alan, and coming around finally to the
If I
to
get
the
much
bright
older, you're going to
side.
just put me in a box. But, no, thank you, as always, for coming in. And we will continue this after the nominations are set.
We should.
And
Yeah.
before,
See if we're right or wrong.
always a
keep my
favorite.
words.
Always a favorite.